Commander Aiden Westbrook sat in the command center, staring at the holographic display before him. His fingers tightened around the edge of the table as he looked at the message flashing across the screen. The Galactic Alliance, humanity's strongest allies, had pulled back. The words seemed to blur in his mind. Allied forces abandoning Earth. He couldn't believe it. Not now. Not when Earth needed them the most. Just days ago, the galaxies had been united in a peaceful alliance, their combined strength enough to push back any threat. But now, those same allies had turned their backs, leaving humanity alone in the face of an alien invasion. The enemy fleet, a sea of terrifying ships, was already entering Earth's atmosphere. They had been planning this for years. Their invasion was swift, efficient, and brutal. Earth's military had barely enough time to react before their cities were torn apart. In a matter of hours, entire nations had fallen, and millions of people lay dead. And yet, no help was coming. Westbrook's mind raced as he tried to make sense of what had happened. Why had the Alliance abandoned them? Had humanity done something wrong? He could still hear the voices of those who had once promised to stand by them. The alien species that had sworn loyalty to Earth had now betrayed them. Why? He couldn't afford to dwell on the why. The battle was already underway. Earth's military forces, scattered and underprepared, were trying to hold their ground, but it was clear they were outmatched. The alien invaders were relentless. Their weapons were beyond anything Earth had ever seen. "Sir, we need orders." A voice broke through Westbrook's thoughts. Lieutenant Callahan stood at the doorway, her face pale but determined. Westbrook turned to her, his expression hardening. "Prepare the fleet. We're not backing down. We're going to fight." "But the allies," she began, but Westbrook cut her off. "Forget the allies. Forget the betrayal. We fight, or we die trying. We can't let Earth fall without a fight." The room went quiet. Each officer knew the odds were stacked against them. They were facing an enemy that had wiped out entire civilizations, and Earth's forces were disorganized and outnumbered. Yet there was a fire in Westbrook's eyes. His voice, though filled with tension, carried the weight of leadership. Humanity might have been abandoned by its allies, but that didn't mean they would go down without a fight. "I know we're outgunned," Westbrook said, his voice steady now. "But we have one thing the enemy doesn't. We have the will to survive." He turned back to the hologram of the alien fleet hovering over the Earth. "We'll make them regret underestimating humanity." The command center erupted with activity. It wasn't much, but it was a start. A small spark in the darkness. Humanity wasn't ready to give up just yet. The night was dark, with only the distant glow of burning cities lighting up the sky. Earth's last defense had been put into motion. Commander Aiden Westbrook stood at the front of a hastily assembled military unit, looking out at the battlefield. His eyes scanned the horizon, where the alien ships loomed like monsters waiting to strike. The countdown clock ticked down in his mind, each second making the weight of the situation heavier. "We're going to make our stand here," Westbrook said, his voice steady despite the chaos. He had ordered a counterattack at the alien landing site on the outskirts of the capital. Earth's forces were outnumbered, but they still had one advantage: determination. The soldiers, a mix of veterans and new recruits, nodded in silent agreement. None of them had ever faced an invasion like this, but their resolve was unwavering. They would not give up their home without a fight. "Ready, Commander." Lieutenant Callahan's voice broke through the silence. She stood by his side, her rifle in hand, and a focused expression on her face. She was one of the best in the field, and she knew the weight of what they were about to face. Westbrook glanced at her and then looked back at the alien ships. They were large, sleek, and terrifying, with weapons powerful enough to destroy entire cities in a matter of seconds. But Earth wasn't going to back down. "Remember," Westbrook said, turning to face the soldiers, "we might be outgunned, but we have something they don't: the will to fight for our survival. Stick together, and we'll make it through this." The soldiers gathered their gear and prepared for the assault. It wasn't much of a plan. The humans would move in with guerrilla tactics, using whatever they could to their advantage. They didn't have the luxury of advanced weapons or large-scale battle strategies, but what they lacked in firepower, they made up for in heart. As the attack began, the ground shook with the sound of explosions. The alien forces had set up massive, armored units, and their laser cannons lit up the night sky. The first wave of human soldiers charged, firing their rifles, their weapons powered by salvaged alien tech. The air was thick with the smell of smoke and burning debris. The humans moved fast, dodging the enemy's fire and taking cover behind wrecked vehicles and abandoned buildings. They struck quickly, hitting the alien forces where they were weakest. Westbrook led the charge, moving with precision and purpose, barking orders through the chaos. "We need to take out their command center," Westbrook shouted, pushing forward with his squad. They worked as one unit, supporting each other as they moved toward the heart of the alien forces. The aliens fought back with terrifying strength, but the humans kept coming, refusing to give up. In the midst of the battle, something unexpected happened. An alien warship, thinking it had a clear shot at Earth's forces, fired a blast that missed its target and struck one of its own. The explosion sent shockwaves through the battlefield, and for the first time, Earth's soldiers saw a crack in the alien armor. "We've got a chance," Callahan yelled. "Push forward." The humans pushed harder, their spirits lifted by the sight of the aliens' vulnerability. With Westbrook leading them, they advanced, picking off enemy units one by one. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. They had shown the aliens that they could fight back. By the end of the night, the battlefield was a mess of wreckage and bodies. Earth's forces had suffered heavy losses, but they had managed to disable several alien warships. It wasn't a decisive victory, but it was a message. The humans had sent a clear signal to their enemies. Humanity was not going to give up. As Westbrook surveyed the battlefield, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. The first battle was over, but the war was far from won. Still, one thing was certain. Humanity was not going down without a fight. Commander Aiden Westbrook stood in the command center, watching the reports come in. The first battle had been brutal, but it had also shown something unexpected. Humans had managed to hold their ground. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, Earth's forces had struck a blow against the alien invaders. It wasn't enough to win the war, but it was enough to show that humanity wouldn't go down without a fight. As the soldiers returned from the battlefield, their faces were filled with exhaustion, but also pride. They had given everything, and for the first time in weeks, Westbrook saw a spark of hope in their eyes. The alien forces had underestimated them. They had expected a quick, easy victory. Instead, they had been met with resistance, unlike anything they had faced before. "We've got something they didn't expect," Lieutenant Callahan said as she walked over to Westbrook, her rifle slung over her shoulder. Her voice was tired, but determined. "Humanity's resolve." Westbrook nodded, his mind racing. The battle had proven that humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their homes, their families, and everything they held dear. And that was something the alien invaders couldn't understand. "We're not just a planet of survivors," Westbrook said quietly. "We're a planet of fighters." Across the room, the rest of the officers were discussing their next move. The victory from the previous night had lifted their spirits, but it had also made them realize how much more they needed to do. The enemy was still out there, and they were stronger than ever. Humanity needed more than just hope. They needed a plan. "We need to step up our game," Westbrook continued, his voice firm. "We've shown the aliens that we can fight, but now we need to take the fight to them. If we're going to win this, we need to show them that humanity won't break." One of the officers, a young engineer named James, spoke up from across the room. "We've been working on a new weapon. It's not finished yet, but it could help us even the odds. It's based on their own tech." Westbrook turned to him, intrigued. "What kind of weapon?" James explained that they had been studying the wreckage from the alien ships, trying to reverse engineer their technology. The weapon wasn't ready yet, but it had the potential to disrupt the aliens' communication systems, giving Earth's forces an edge. "We don't have much time," Westbrook said. "But if this works, it could give us the opportunity we need. Get it ready." The room fell into a tense silence as everyone got to work. There was a renewed sense of purpose in the air, a feeling that for the first time, humanity had a chance. Later that night, Westbrook stood on the balcony of the command center, staring out at the burning cities. The war was far from over, and the road ahead was uncertain. But one thing was clear: humanity had found its strength. They had proven that they could rise up against impossible odds. They were no longer just a planet of survivors. They were a planet of fighters. The battle had only just begun, but the fire of hope that had sparked in the hearts of humanity would burn brighter with each passing day. Westbrook knew that the road ahead would be long and filled with sacrifice. But as long as they fought together, there was no enemy they couldn't defeat. The days after the first battle were tense. Humanity had proven that they were not weak, but the reality was clear. The alien forces were still stronger. The technology they had was beyond anything Earth had, and the alien fleet continued to grow. Every day, more cities fell. More lives were lost. But Commander Aiden Westbrook refused to give in. In the command center, everyone was focused on one goal: how to stop the aliens from taking Earth completely. Westbrook knew they had to keep pushing, to show the invaders that humanity would never surrender. Even in the darkest moments, hope flickered. "Commander, we've made progress on the weapon," Lieutenant Callahan said, walking up to him with a tablet in her hand. "It's not finished, but we've tested some preliminary results. It works." Westbrook looked at the screen. On it, a diagram showed the new weapon, an energy disruptor designed to interfere with the aliens' communication systems. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. "This could give us the advantage we need," Westbrook said, his voice filled with cautious optimism. "If we can disrupt their command, we can buy time. Time we need to hit them harder." The team worked around the clock, trying to make the weapon ready for deployment. They needed to move fast. The alien forces were closing in, and Earth's defenses were getting weaker with every passing hour. Then, in the middle of their preparations, a breakthrough came. James, the young engineer, found a way to enhance the weapon. With a few adjustments, the disruptor could now take out a larger section of the alien fleet's communications network. This was the chance they had been waiting for. "We can't waste any time," Westbrook said, his mind racing. "If we deploy this and strike their command center at the same time, we might stand a chance. It's risky, but it's the best plan we've got." A new wave of urgency swept through the command center. Soldiers, engineers, and strategists worked together in a frenzy to prepare for the mission. The weapon was ready. Now they needed to carry out the plan. That night, under the cover of darkness, Earth's forces launched a surprise attack. The alien fleet, distracted by the sudden disruption, was caught off guard. Westbrook led the charge, flying in a fighter ship toward the alien command ship. The battle was intense. Alien warships fired their powerful beams at the humans, but their communication systems were in chaos, making them less coordinated. Earth's fighters took advantage of the confusion, hitting the enemy where it hurt. Westbrook's heart pounded as he flew through the thick smoke and laser fire. He knew the stakes. If they failed, Earth would fall. But something inside him pushed him forward. The thought of his people, of the families, the children, the civilians, kept him going. He couldn't fail them. The weapon fired, and the alien communications grid began to crack. For the first time, the invaders were on the defensive. Earth's fighters pressed forward, taking down alien ships and forcing them to retreat. The battle lasted for hours, but by the time the sun rose, Earth's forces had claimed a significant victory. The alien command center was in ruins. Their communication system was disrupted, and for the first time, the invaders were unsure of their next move. Westbrook stood on the command deck, his eyes tired but filled with pride. The tide had turned. Humanity had fought back, and they had made the aliens feel their wrath. It wasn't over yet, but the victory showed one thing: humanity was not to be underestimated. The victory from the previous battle had lifted Earth's spirits, but Commander Aiden Westbrook knew they couldn't let their guard down. The alien invaders had been hurt, but not defeated. They had regrouped quickly, and new threats were starting to emerge. It was clear that the first phase of the war was just the beginning. The aliens had something else planned, something bigger. "Sir, we intercepted some strange signals," Lieutenant Callahan said, walking into the command center. She held a data pad, her face tight with concern. "It looks like they're calling for reinforcements, but the signals are unlike anything we've ever seen." Westbrook glanced at the screen as the data appeared. It was true. The aliens were communicating with something, or someone, that Earth had not yet encountered. Their technology was evolving at an alarming rate. "Are these new ships?" Westbrook asked. Callahan shook her head. "We don't know. The signals are encrypted, and we haven't been able to break them. But it's clear we're not dealing with the same enemy anymore." A chill ran down Westbrook's spine. The alien empire they had been fighting was dangerous. But this felt different. Something bigger and more terrifying was coming. "Prepare for the worst," Westbrook ordered. "We need to be ready for anything." As Earth's forces scrambled to analyze the mysterious signals, a new and terrifying presence made itself known. A massive ship, unlike any they had seen before, appeared on the outer edge of Earth's defense perimeter. It was a colossal, dark behemoth, its surface smooth and almost organic, pulsing with energy. It wasn't like the alien ships they had been fighting. This one seemed to hum with power, and there was a sense of foreboding about it that none of them could ignore. "What in the world is that?" one of the officers muttered, his voice filled with awe and fear. Westbrook studied the image on the screen, his brow furrowing. "I don't know, but we need to find out fast." The alien ship moved slowly, as if it were waiting for something. Earth's forces stood ready, but the mystery of the new enemy loomed over them. No one had any idea what they were up against. What was this new ship? And more importantly, what kind of weaponry did it carry? A sense of dread began to spread through the command center. Everyone knew that the aliens were capable of unimaginable destruction, but this new threat seemed even more powerful. Westbrook could feel it in his bones. The stakes had just been raised to a level they couldn't afford to ignore. The new alien ship finally made its move, sending out a pulse of energy that shook the very air around them. Earth's shields flared up in an attempt to block the energy, but it was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The pulse tore through the shield like paper, leaving behind only faint traces of its passage. "We're not ready for this," Callahan said, her voice filled with panic. "Keep calm," Westbrook ordered. "We need to adapt. Fast." The alien ship began sending smaller ships down to Earth's surface, much faster and more numerous than before. They weren't just invading, they were preparing for something more. A new army. And they weren't going to wait any longer. Westbrook knew that humanity was facing something much bigger than they had ever anticipated. This was no longer just an invasion. It was a fight for survival against an enemy that had been hiding in the shadows. As Earth's forces prepared for the coming storm, Westbrook stood tall, his resolve hardening. Humanity had already shown its strength once. Now it was time to prove that they could fight against the unknown and win. The situation had grown more dire than Commander Aiden Westbrook could have ever imagined. The massive alien ship that had appeared near Earth was only the beginning. The enemy forces had launched an all-out attack, sending waves of smaller ships to the surface in what seemed like an unstoppable flood. Earth's defenses were stretched to their limits, and it was clear that if something didn't change soon, humanity would be overrun. In the command center, Westbrook paced back and forth, his mind racing for a solution. The enemy's new ships were too powerful, too numerous, and the human forces were already struggling to keep up. Despite their victories in previous battles, Earth had reached a tipping point. "We need to hit them where it hurts," Westbrook said, stopping in front of his officers. "We need to strike at the heart of their operation. It's the only chance we've got." Lieutenant Callahan stepped forward, her face grim. "We've tried hitting their command ships before, Commander. But now they've got that new mothership. We don't have the firepower to take it down." Westbrook looked at the map of Earth's defenses, his mind working through the possibilities. There had to be a way to stop them. He couldn't just sit back and wait to be destroyed. Humanity had always relied on its creativity, its resourcefulness, and its ability to improvise. "What if we don't fight them directly?" Westbrook said slowly, an idea forming. "What if we attack their communication network? If we disrupt their ability to coordinate, we can cause chaos in their ranks. It's a long shot, but it's our best chance." Callahan raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting a sabotage mission?" Westbrook nodded. "Exactly. We'll send a small, specialized team to infiltrate their mothership. We'll plant an EMP device to knock out their communications and send their forces into disarray. We have to move fast, and we'll have to rely on speed and stealth." A tense silence fell over the room as the officers processed the plan. It was risky, more than risky. If they failed, humanity would lose everything. But Westbrook knew that they couldn't afford to wait around. The enemy was getting stronger every day, and if they didn't act now, they might never get another chance. "We'll need volunteers," Westbrook continued. "It's going to be dangerous. We won't have any backup once we board their ship. It's just us and the aliens. But we've got one thing they don't: determination." The room fell silent again. And then, one by one, the soldiers stepped forward, each volunteering for the mission. Callahan was the first to step up, her face unwavering. "I'll go," she said firmly. "I won't let you do this alone." Westbrook nodded, a small smile on his face. "I wouldn't expect anything less." The plan was set. Earth's best and brightest, led by Westbrook and Callahan, would infiltrate the alien mothership, risking everything to take down the enemy's communication network. They would need to move fast, stay out of sight, and strike when the moment was right. As the team prepared to board their stealth craft, Westbrook felt the weight of the mission. The odds were slim. If they failed, Earth would lose its last chance at victory. But in his heart, he knew there was no other choice. They couldn't afford to sit back any longer. It was time to fight back with everything they had. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. The small, elite team led by Commander Aiden Westbrook and Lieutenant Callahan moved swiftly through the darkened corridors of their ship. Their mission was simple but dangerous: infiltrate the alien mothership, disable their communication network, and create chaos in their ranks. If they succeeded, Earth might stand a chance. If they failed, the enemy would have an even stronger grip on the planet. The team was composed of a handful of soldiers, engineers, and technicians. Each of them had volunteered, knowing the risks. They had trained for this moment, but nothing could fully prepare them for the unknown dangers awaiting them on the alien ship. Westbrook looked over at Callahan, her face set in determination. He knew she was just as nervous as he was, but she wouldn't show it. They were the leaders, and if they faltered, the team would lose confidence. "This is it," Westbrook said quietly, his voice steady. "We stick to the plan. Move quickly, stay in the shadows, and we'll get this done." Callahan nodded. "We'll make it work, Commander." The stealth ship they were aboard was designed for one thing: getting close to the alien mothership without being detected. They had already slipped past the outer defenses, but they knew it wouldn't be long before the aliens realized they were there. Every minute counted. When they finally reached the mothership's surface, the team silently boarded, using specialized equipment to cut through the outer hull. The door hissed open, revealing a dark, cavernous interior. The air inside smelled strange, sharp and metallic, like the alien ship itself was alive. Westbrook motioned for the team to move. They set off down the long hallways, their footsteps muffled by the soft, alien material underfoot. It was eerie, like walking through a nightmare. The walls seemed to pulse with energy, and the strange lights overhead flickered in patterns that didn't make sense. As they crept deeper into the ship, the team encountered no resistance. The silence was unsettling, but Westbrook knew that didn't mean they were safe. The aliens had an uncanny ability to appear when least expected, and their technology was advanced enough to detect any movement. "It's too quiet," one of the soldiers whispered. "Something's wrong." Westbrook nodded, his hand gripping the weapon at his side. "Stay alert. We're almost there." They reached the communications room, a large, open chamber with alien consoles and glowing lights. This was where the disruption had to happen. The EMP device was ready. All they needed to do was plant it in the heart of the system and disable the mothership's network. It would be risky, but it was the only chance they had. As Callahan began setting up the device, Westbrook and the rest of the team stood watch. The tension was palpable. Every sound seemed to echo in the room, each creak of metal feeling like a threat. They all knew that if they were caught now, there would be no escape. Then, without warning, the alarms blared. Red lights flashed, and the alien ship's eerie hum grew louder, more urgent. They had been discovered. "Move," Westbrook shouted, drawing his weapon. "We've got to get out of here now." The team rushed to their feet, but as they turned to flee, alien soldiers flooded the room. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. The battle for Earth's survival had just gotten a lot harder. Westbrook's mind raced. They had to get out. They couldn't afford to fail now. The EMP device was almost ready, but they had no time to waste. He gritted his teeth, the weight of the mission pressing down on him. But he wasn't about to let humanity lose its last hope. "We fight our way out," he yelled. "Keep moving." The team fought with everything they had. It was a desperate gamble, but it was their only shot. As the EMP device powered up, Westbrook knew that if they could just survive long enough to set it off, they might finally have a chance to turn the tide. The sound of blaring alarms echoed through the alien mothership as Commander Aiden Westbrook and his team fought desperately to hold their ground. The EMP device was set and primed, but it wasn't activated yet. They had to survive long enough to trigger it. An impossible task if the alien soldiers surrounding them had anything to say about it. "We can't let them overwhelm us," Westbrook shouted, his voice sharp above the chaos. He fired his weapon, taking down one alien soldier as another advanced on his position. The air crackled with energy as alien lasers flashed past him, narrowly missing his head. Lieutenant Callahan, ever the leader, kept firing her weapon, taking out one alien after another. But the aliens seemed endless. No matter how many they took down, more appeared from the shadows, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans with cold determination. Westbrook's heart pounded. The EMP was their only hope, but with every passing second, their chances of survival grew slimmer. They had to make it to the control room. Once they activated the device, the alien mothership would be thrown into chaos, and that was the moment humanity would strike back. "Westbrook," Callahan shouted, her voice strained. She crouched behind a large alien console, providing cover fire. "We need to move now, or we're finished." Westbrook nodded. "Cover the back, and I'll go first." He charged forward, his weapon raised. He fired once, twice, taking down two more aliens, but the room was crowded with the enemy. He could feel the heat of their lasers, but he didn't stop. The EMP was just ahead. If he could reach it, everything would change. As Westbrook neared the EMP device, he saw movement out of the corner of his eye. A massive alien soldier, unlike any they had seen before, was charging toward him. It was large, heavily armored, and armed with a weapon that looked capable of cutting through steel. Without thinking, Westbrook ducked to the side just in time to avoid the alien's deadly strike. He rolled to his feet and fired his weapon at the creature, but the shots barely phased it. "Commander," Callahan yelled again. We can't hold them off forever. The alien soldier lunged at Westbrook, swinging its weapon with terrifying force. Westbrook had no choice but to dodge again. His heart raced. He needed to activate the EMP and fast. With one final surge of energy, he sprinted toward the device and pressed the activation button. The EMP hummed to life. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deafening crackle, the alien mothership's entire communications network shut down. The lights flickered, and the ship trembled. The alien soldiers paused, momentarily confused, and that was all the humans needed. Now, Westbrook shouted, "Take them down." With the EMP device now active, the alien forces faltered. Their communication systems were down, causing chaos among their ranks. Earth's soldiers fought with newfound confidence, pushing back against the disoriented aliens. The battle had shifted in humanity's favor. The alien soldiers' coordinated attacks had turned into disorganized chaos. Without their command structure in place, they struggled to fight back effectively. Westbrook and Callahan pressed forward, cutting through the remaining enemy forces. But just as victory seemed within reach, a new threat appeared. The massive alien general, the one they had heard rumors about, stepped into the battlefield. It was a towering creature, encased in powerful armor, with weapons that hummed with deadly energy. This was no ordinary alien. It was the leader of the invasion forces. The battle for Earth had just reached its most dangerous stage. "We're not done yet," Westbrook yelled, turning to face the massive alien general. The fight for survival wasn't over. Humanity had taken the first step in turning the tide, but they would have to fight for every inch of their world. With the EMP disrupting the enemy's ability to communicate, Westbrook knew this was humanity's chance to finish what they had started. They had shown the aliens that they could resist, that they would never bow to their invaders. But now, they had to win. And with Earth's last hope hanging in the balance, Commander Westbrook was ready to fight until the very end. The alien general towered over the battlefield, a hulking figure in dark, heavy armor. Its glowing eyes scanned the humans who dared to challenge its army. The ground trembled beneath its massive steps as it advanced toward Commander Aiden Westbrook and his team. The EMP had given humanity a fighting chance, but this alien general was unlike anything they had faced before. Westbrook gripped his weapon tightly, his heart pounding. He knew this would be the fight that determined everything. If they couldn't defeat the general, Earth's chances of survival would be crushed. "Stay focused," Westbrook shouted to his team. "We've beaten their forces once. We can do it again." Lieutenant Callahan nodded, her face grim but determined. "We take it down together. Stay close." The alien general raised its massive weapon, a glowing energy sword that hummed with deadly power. It swung it down with a roar, and the impact sent a shockwave through the ground. Westbrook dove to the side just in time, narrowly avoiding the strike. "Move," Callahan shouted, firing her weapon. The blast hit the general's armor, but it barely made a dent. The alien turned toward her, its eyes glowing with fury. It charged, swinging its sword with terrifying force. Westbrook moved quickly, trying to flank the general while Callahan kept its attention. She was quick, ducking and dodging the general's strikes, but it was clear that this creature was a true force of nature. No matter how fast they moved, they couldn't escape its power. "Keep firing," Westbrook shouted. "We have to find its weak spot." The team worked together, firing shot after shot at the general's armored body. But nothing seemed to slow it down. The general's strikes were relentless, and every blow sent shockwaves through the ground, making it hard to keep their footing. "We need to get inside its armor," one of the soldiers shouted, fear creeping into his voice. "We can't stop it otherwise." Westbrook gritted his teeth. He knew the enemy had adapted quickly, but they hadn't accounted for humanity's ability to keep fighting even when the odds seemed impossible. They had the will to survive, and they wouldn't stop now. The general swung its sword again, but this time, Westbrook was ready. He darted forward, ducking under the swing and sliding behind the general's massive form. He spotted a small gap in the general's armor near the neck, a vulnerable point. "Now," Westbrook shouted. "Aim for the weak spot." The team quickly adjusted their fire, aiming at the exposed area on the alien's neck. Their weapons fired in unison. And for a moment, nothing happened. But then the general's armor began to crack, its glowing energy dimming. The alien general roared in pain, staggering back. Westbrook saw his chance. With all his strength, he charged forward, and using a piece of alien debris as a weapon, struck the weak spot directly. The impact sent the general to the ground with a deafening crash. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the general's massive body twitched, and its eyes flickered as if it were still alive, but the glowing lights dimmed. It let out a final roar before collapsing completely. Humanity had won. The battlefield was filled with the sound of heavy breathing and the crackle of burning debris. The alien forces, once so organized and powerful, now seemed defeated. Without their general, the remaining invaders quickly fell into disarray. Westbrook stood over the fallen general, his heart racing. It wasn't over yet. There were still pockets of resistance, still more aliens to fight. But for the first time in weeks, he allowed himself a moment to breathe. Humanity had faced the impossible and had won. "We did it," Callahan said, her voice filled with disbelief. "We really did it." Westbrook nodded, his gaze steady. "This isn't the end, but it's the beginning of our victory." Earth had survived. And now, with their enemies in retreat, humanity would rebuild. The tide had truly turned, and the invaders would learn that underestimating humanity had been their biggest mistake. The battle was over. The alien general lay defeated, and the invaders' forces were in disarray. Earth's soldiers had fought with everything they had, pushing back against an enemy that had seemed unstoppable. The ground was littered with the wreckage of alien ships and the bodies of both humans and invaders alike. But humanity had won. Against all odds, Earth had proven that it would not fall quietly. Commander Aiden Westbrook stood on the battlefield, his face covered in dirt and sweat. The air was thick with smoke, but the rising sun offered a glimpse of hope. It was the first time in weeks that he had seen daylight without the looming threat of destruction. The victory had come at a great cost. Many brave soldiers had fallen, but the war was not over. It had only just begun. "We did it," Lieutenant Callahan said quietly beside him. She looked out over the battlefield, where soldiers were beginning to gather, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and disbelief. Westbrook nodded but said nothing. He knew that while they had won a major victory, the fight was far from over. The aliens would regroup, and there would be more battles ahead. But for the first time, humanity had a real chance to take back their world. "We've only just started," Westbrook said, his voice low but filled with determination. "There's still a long road ahead, but this is the beginning of our comeback." The soldiers around him nodded. They knew it too. Earth had faced the unimaginable and had survived. They had fought back against an overwhelming enemy and had won, not because they were stronger or better equipped, but because they had something the aliens didn't: the will to fight for their survival. As the human forces began to regroup, the sight of the fallen alien general was a powerful symbol of their triumph. The invaders, once so confident and powerful, had underestimated humanity's strength. They had made the mistake of thinking they could conquer a planet of survivors. Now, humanity had proved them wrong. The Earth's military leaders held a meeting in the command center, with Westbrook at the head. The news was being broadcast across the globe. Humanity had won its first major victory. The alien forces were retreating, and for the first time since the invasion began, Earth's citizens allowed themselves a moment of hope. "We've shown them what humanity is capable of," Westbrook said, standing before his fellow leaders. "This victory isn't just for us. It's for every person on Earth who fought for their homes. This is the legacy we're leaving behind. a planet that never gave up. The room was filled with nods of agreement. Westbrook's words weren't just about a military victory. They were about the future. Humanity had proven to the galaxy that they weren't a species to be underestimated. Earth was stronger than it had ever been, and now they would take the fight to the stars. Outside, the sun was rising higher, casting a warm glow over the war-torn landscape. The rebuilding would be long and difficult, but humanity had earned its place among the stars. Earth was no longer just a planet on the edge of the galaxy. It was a symbol of resilience, of defiance, of the unbreakable will to survive. Commander Aiden Westbrook watched the sunrise, a sense of peace settling over him. The road ahead would be difficult, but humanity had shown that it could withstand anything. They had fought with fire and fury, and they had won. And with that victory, they had secured their future.